Hello, Jonathan.
Greg. What's going on,
Jonathan,
man?
Jonathan. What is going on? It's a horrible, cold, cloudy
Oh,
day in Palm Springs today.
absolutely.
The entire country is in the grip of this horrible weather. And are you ready? Are you ready? It is 66 degrees with very high.
Positive or negative?
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Positive, yeah,
Okay,
positive,
good.
66 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So there are people right now listening, our one listener, who is anywhere else in the United States and throwing tomatoes at their listening device right now because
Yeah.
probably zero wherever they are.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm well. I'm enjoying this kind of chilly weather. I have on a pair of rag wool socks right now that I have not had on since I lived in Seattle.
Wow.
So this morning felt like the morning to be in sweatpants and
Yeah.
wool socks as I putter around my house and work on projects.
I've learned, and this is for anybody, for maybe a listener for in player mode, that my house gets much colder inside than it gets outside.
Yeah, same.
Like even unless I have the heat actively on, it's chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's all the stone and tile
Oh, interesting. You might be right. I think also for
concrete.
me, this is again, it's a Palm Springs thing that I've become so used to. It's more damp this morning. I was going to say damper, but that doesn't sound quite right. It is more
Right.
damp this morning than normal, and I feel that cold very differently. Um, let's see. Where's our humidity? Humidity is
It's in the air.
it's in the good point. I like to keep mine
Mm.
in the air. Um,
Learned that in science
43%,
class. It's
43%,
what?
43% today, according to,
Wow.
yeah, which is high for the desert.
Yeah,
But I
that is high
feel the
for us.
cold more in those times, and I'll say it, my joints ache more in those times.
Do they?
They
Okay.
do.
Yeah, we are of that age.
We are of that age.
Yeah.
So all of that has got me, as we were just discussing a moment ago,
Mhm.
thinking about comfort food
Comfort foods.
because it's a thing that I crave when it's air quotes cold um,
Yeah.
and or air quotes damp uh, for the desert.
So
So
when you, I want to ask this then, because people throw that term out a lot, the comfort
yeah,
foods, and but you're looking for a comfort mood, right? So you're really looking for the experience. What completes that comfort food moment? Is it like a fire going? Is
mm,
it certain music playing? Is it those socks that you've broken out and is that part of the complete the comfort package for you?
uh, a variety of things do. The first piece for me though about comfort food is where it fits nostalgically for me.
Hmm.
So coming up for me this week, and we're going to talk more about what we're cooking this week. I'm going to make tuna noodle casserole again. I made it.
Ooh,
I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, a couple
yeah.
sessions ago. And I didn't get enough. I ate the entire thing, and it wasn't enough, and I want more. And so my mom made that for us. My mom was a single working mother, and so and she, Midwest roots, and so casseroles were very real. Things made with cream of mushroom soup were very real. One pot meals, like that was a big part of my growing up. And so part of the comfort for me is the nostalgia level. So tuna noodle casserole is pretty high on the nostalgia level. And so then
Yeah.
I add to that, wearing sweats and wool socks, obviously this is not something that I would find comforting in the summer in Palm Springs, but
No.
wearing sweats and wool socks and a hoodie and maybe watching TV on the couch with the dog, sort of all that comes together as part of the comfort
Yeah.
um, diorama. That's the wrong word in that context, but
Yeah.
sounds fun,
But I
doesn't it?
like it. Yeah.
But all those one pot meals fit there, like mac and cheese would fit there. We talked about mac and cheese. We have more to talk
Yeah.
about that, I know.
Mashed
Um,
potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I have some leftover cheese grits that I made. I made shrimp and grits the other night because I continued
Ooh,
shrimp and grits. Um,
sure.
and I have some leftover cheese grits, and I was looking for ways to make, like literally fried cheese grit balls because that seems like a thing I should be
Is
eating.
that a thing?
I think it's going to be a thing. It's part of my what's coming up on your list this week. I've got a plan for I'm going to call them grit fritters or gritters. I just made that up.
Gritters.
I'm going to make gritters this week.
My God, I want a gritter.
You can have one. You can have a
Yeah.
gritter. Um, But all of that, so I think it's, like, where is cheese? What is it, sort of creamy, soupy, casserole? Those
Yeah,
things come
yeah,
into me for comfort food. What
yeah.
about you? What's the comfort food experience for you?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of similar. Excuse me. I have a little bit of a cold that I'm still getting over, but
Got
I'm
it.
almost there. So if you hear me get a little froggy, that's why. So
Right.
for me, comfort definitely potato products. Anything like a baked
Yes.
potato with I like a baked potato that's got um and I would say that a lot of times tomato-based things are not comforting, even though they can be very delicious and warming. For some reason, the higher acid, like I would think that a bowl of spaghetti is probably not comfort food, but maybe lasagna would be because of all the
Oh,
cheese.
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But I like for me, what I like comfort is like potatoes, but then I like to put some chili on it.
Mm,
Like a baked potato that's opened up and some chili and some cheese, and it's just gooey and
oof.
yeah.
Well, and even as you describe it, obviously the visual of a baked potato with chili over the top sounds amazing, and now I want it. Um, but then I think of things like I've got in the freezer right now. I've got a bag of frozen French fries, and I
Mm,
know that there's a potato casserole that's like layered frozen French fries and then chili and then
ooh,
cheese and then Fritos.
get
I
out of
um
here.
I concluded yesterday afternoon that Charlie Brown, with whom you and our listeners are familiar,
Mhm.
smelled like a Frito. Um, that could have been what I was craving at the time. He didn't have any comment, but Fritos on top of the that casserole I just mentioned
Yeah,
feels comfort foodish to me. So yeah, potatoes are in there.
that's funny. I always know it's time for Rudy to have a bath when he smells like a Frito. We have said this.
That's really funny.
It's time for a bath. Yeah,
Wow. Okay, maybe it's time for Charlie Brown to have a bath.
that's for us. Maybe he just has that wonderful
Kind
smell.
of like the Frito smell. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not terrible. Your dog is smelling very snackish.
He is. And again,
Yeah,
it could just have been that I was hungry, which is, always a possibility.
it
Um,
is. Yeah, the way our brain makes associations and connections is fascinating.
It is actually.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the degree to which smell it sort of hits, those memories and that nostalgia. And I've read that smell has a deeper connection to our memory than our other senses do, which is
Yeah.
why, there's still some smells that just I find so compelling and confusing at times.
Yeah.
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 So
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, it has to pass the smell check, right? Like the smell test. Like that, there are. It is such a big part of who and how we are as a
yeah,
species.
yeah,
That we smell things. We smell
we
things
do.
all the time, and then and how awkward it is to. I mean, obviously dogs smell each other, but we don't really smell each other that much, not
No,
closely.
no.
Yeah.
Many years ago, in a at work, this is at some random corporation. This is easily 30 years ago. Maybe I was
Mhm.
in my cubicle as I was at the time, and somebody else was in their cubicle, and I was having a conversation with a coworker, and I was sort of sitting, like halfway on the edge of their desk, having a work
Mhm.
conversation, and
Yeah.
and I was kind of caught up in it. In the middle of the conversation, without realizing I did it, I picked up the stapler off of their desk and smelled it and then put it back down again and continue the conversation. And my coworker and also friend had the presence of mind to say, hold on, what just happened? And that's when I realized that I had in fact just randomly picked up their stapler and smelled it. So that derailed.
What did you pick up? Did you catch a scent and you're like, wait, I'm gonna solve a mystery now because I'm on the trail of no.
It was an almost subconscious thing that made me pick it up and smell it. I'm not sure what I was looking for, what
Yeah,
I thought was going to happen. I have no idea. To this day, I don't know why I picked up that stapler. I assumed it was demon possession. I was possessed by a
quite
demon
possible.
for
Yeah.
just a moment. It's a thing that happens. And
Yeah.
cubicle farms are places where demon possession is most likely to happen.
Well, yeah. So you know how you can get sick when your immune system's low? You can get possessed when your emotional happiness system is low.
Yes,
And
everything.
that's what those cubicle farms are for, right?
Everything is
Let's
beige.
depress the people.
Yes,
Let's suppress their desires and needs and requirements to be outside and that, grass in between your toes feels good. No,
exactly.
let's stay here.
Don't present any colors that are stimulating, for heaven's sake. Yeah, in the
No,
middle of that, demons can make their way in. Everyone knows that.
sure. That's
Um,
how that happens.
this made me think. I was reading something about exorcism the other day. Let's for another day though.
Right, that's
Let's come back to
Casey Jones After Dark.
let's come back with the exorcisms episode. Let's come back to what you're cooking this week.
Well,
I'm gonna make tuna noodle casserole. What's going on for you this week?
yeah, we're making a couple of things. So and I've got a little more shopping to do, but one of them that I'm looking forward to is a really creamy mushroom risotto. And I've got two kinds of mushrooms right now, shiitake and bell, and I'm looking to bring in some oyster and maybe something else that's just kind of fun to find. So some multi mushroom risotto is on the list, and then also we're making a veggie lasagna.
Oh, right on.
We cleaned out our pantry, which was at the point, I don't know if your pantry, you're very organized and you're great about that, but we start off organized and then a couple weeks later, we're like, what the hell happened? So, and it's just where we buy things, we go to store them, and in the places in which we went to store them, there isn't enough room. So then we're like, okay, well, just this once, I'll put this here. And now that's where that always goes.
That is
And
there
then
forever, yes.
and then things just get shoved in, and you open the door, and it's like stuff like Lucille Ball episode, things just
Yes.
fly out of the cabinet on you.
Vegetables.
And so we decided, listen, we got to clean this out. In the act of cleaning this out, we found all these things we didn't realize we had that were in the back. And we had sardines, cans of sardines, and they were all shelf stable. I found a whole pack of unopened lasagna noodles.
Oh, right on.
And then we had like multiple jars of pasta sauce. I'm like, this is coming together.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
So we're doing this.
I have something for you then.
Oh,
I'm a big fan of America's Test Kitchen.
yes.
I don't know if they still have a cooking show, but I watch their videos and I get the magazine Cooks Illustrated. So I should say they are not sponsoring this episode at all. Although if they're listening, they
Hey,
can.
let us know.
America's Test Kitchen,
We're open. Yeah.
if you were to go to YouTube and look for the America's Test Kitchen tomato lasagna recipe, that is a staple for me. And it's what it sounds like. It is a lasagna with no meat at all, and really not a lot of other vegetables other than tomatoes.
Okay.
It is fantastic. I've made it 5 or 6 times over the past couple of years. It is one of the best comfort foodie and also meatless dishes that I've ever made. So, and they have as they typically do, they have all kinds of recommendations on how to boost the tomato flavor. It's all canned tomatoes. You have to worry about finding anything fresh.
Sure.
Really, really an amazing recipe, and one that now I crave and want again.
Sorry about that, but no, good.
Yeah.
Also good. Yeah.
So I'll send that to you. I'll send that link to you because it's a really, really good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. And now it's got me hungry because that's the other thing. Fritters. I'm going to make fritters this week, but it also makes me want to make more shrimp and grits, which I'm back on my shrimp and grits.
Yeah.
Bent. We should have a shrimp and grits evening sometime this week, or brunch. Shrimp and grits for brunch.
Oh yeah.
Mimosas.
Okay.
Think about that. I have some.
Ow, stop twisting my arm. Stop it.
I have some bottles of Prosecco I have to get rid of. So I need to have a brunch where I invite people.
I love how you put that. They're just sitting around. I got to get rid of them.
It's true. It's a weird thing. For a guy who doesn't drink alcohol, I accumulate more alcohol than anyone I know.
Yeah.
And right now I have 3 full bottles of Prosecco that are just literally taking up space that I otherwise need for other things. So I think there's
great. Let me help you. Let me be there for you, friend.
I'm asking for. I'm asking for.
Yeah, we're gonna
shrimp and grits brunch where that's gonna happen. Gosh, now I'm just really hungry. What else are we talking about?
Yeah.
So veggie lasagna you're making this week.
Yeah, we're looking for that. And so veggie lasagna.
And what now?
And veggie lasagna, and then mushroom risotto. And we're also we're doing a lot. We're gonna start playing around with chickpeas. We're gonna do a lot of chickpeas and lentils, chickpeas and broth, chickpeas. Of course, hummus is always a favorite. But we have a lot of chickpeas to get through. We want to make sure that we don't let them go to waste.
Another good recipe I'll share with you for it's a Indian chickpea stew. That is just all those amazing Indian spices that are so good on chilly days. Again, 66 degrees doesn't really count as a chilly day for most of the country, but I have
Bracing cold.
bracing. Oh, it's awful here. I had to put long pants on. Who does that?
That's huge. That's
It
huge. Yeah. Yeah, it is funny how rare it is that I wear long pants. And when I do, I notice it. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of cloth.
is.
A lot of fabric I'm
Like,
carrying
yeah,
around.
I can feel cloth on my legs. How weird.
Yeah, so weird.
Um, well, now I just want all those things. I'm not going to make tomato lasagna this week, even though I had a minute where I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to add that to my shopping list and do it myself.
Yeah.
No, I'm sticking with the tuna noodle casserole, which is also fun to say if you say it really fast,
Mhm.
because it turns out like tunal nuda casserole. Uh,
All right.
I have now I'm thinking about the pantry. I have a couple of I'm still on comfort food.
Mhm.
I have a couple of packages of high-end ramen
Ooh.
in my cupboard right now. I went through a phase um, a few months ago where I was trying to find ways to improve like cheap grocery store ramen
Yeah.
and found a couple methods that are actually kind of amazing. Um,
Really?
the chief of which is so standard noodles and the flavor packet.
Yeah.
So uh, one of the things I tried is to use two grocery store ramen packets and boil the noodles from both of them, but only use one seasoning packet
Okay.
and whisk an egg into the hot water.
Mm.
And it creates like a richness to the broth that otherwise just doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
it doesn't scramble in the water, but it also it doesn't stay raw anymore. It just really thickens the hot water that you would use. So
Oh,
one flavor packet, whisk an egg, and then I've got chili oil that I put in there, and
yeah.
other spices, and then you've got this amazing noodle soup pho-ish
Yeah.
experience that is pretty great.
I am such a fan of soups, ramens especially. It's always been a bowl of ramen, one of my favorite go-tos
Yeah,
growing up. And like at restaurants, yes, I
yeah,
have been poor and lived off of the top ramen
sure. That's different.
pack
Yeah.
of stuff, right? Where you're like, hey, I'm lucky I had water to put in this time. Like
Yes.
it's I've had those moments. You mentioned high-end ramen, but you are bringing the high end to the ramen.
Yeah.
I purchased what I think are maybe some of the most delicious ramen packets. They're not inexpensive. But the company's called IMMI,
Oh, okay.
and they do a variety pack, and they have like black garlic chicken, tom yum shrimp, spicy beef, and the noodles are plant-based and they
Oh,
are low carb, high protein noodles. So you're not just getting a big salt carb
right
load.
on.
They have a fraction of the sodium that say a top ramen or a cup of noodles will have. But my high-end cup of noodles that I did was at an office, and we would take when I was close to payday and I was a little out of money, so I'd take the cup of noodles and I'd open up one of the beef jerky packets and I'd tear it up and put it in the cup of noodles, and
Ooh,
I'd have jerky ramen.
jerky ramen. That's kind of fun. I have one in there too right now that is Momofuku ramen noodles
Oh,
that are very, very good. Um, and that's what I've got in the pantry right now.
oh wow, yum.
Also, but I'm gonna have to look up this IMMI Emmy Eats. They have them on Amazon.
They're on, yeah, they are. That's right. They're good.
Everything. Um,
Oh, that
and
sounds great.
I've also had a craving for baked goods lately. But when I say lately, yeah, I mean
You mean,
craving for baked goods all the time. So I made
yeah.
some bread recently, as you know, because I gave you guys a loaf.
Thank you. It's
And
delicious.
and it was I've been making sourdough. You've heard me talk about this since before the pandemic, and so I
Yeah.
kind of have a rhythm for it. But I got lazy and I wasn't letting my starter get robust enough. So the past couple loaves I've made have not been ideal. But I
Hmm.
cleaned up my act and made a good loaf, good couple of loaves recently, one of which you guys got. So I had some of that this morning, which was good. But I've been craving scones,
Oh.
scones if you're European. Um,
Mhm.
and I have a great scone recipe, but it needs cream. So on my shopping list for today is cream to make scones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that
We
again falls in the comfort food category because then it means so I'll bake this recipe I have makes 8 scones. Um, and then what I do is I'll eat one the morning that I make them and then put the rest in the freezer. And then
mm,
when that night when I go to bed, I take one out of the freezer and it thaws out overnight, and then I pop it in the air fryer for a minute.
oof,
Not a full minute, but for a
yeah.
few seconds in the morning to crisp it up, and then I have coffee and a scone every morning for 8 mornings.
Oh God, I love it.
It's pretty great.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what kind of scones are you making?
Raisin. I'm a creature
Raisin.
of habit. I make
Yeah.
raisin scones. I've got a recipe that I've tried several different recipes that I found online. Got one that I really, really like. Have we talked about raisins? Oh, I'm gonna go off on a tangent with raisins for a minute. All right. This is a thing. I'm super excited. Raisins.
Yes,
I'm pro raisin. I love them.
I've
I
heard.
believe that you and I share oatmeal raisin cookies as a favorite cookie.
Yes,
And in fact, did you get the one I sent home with
I
Andrea?
did, and thank you.
I love
I
them.
ate it midday. Like I
Okay.
didn't even wait till nighttime. I was just like, "Is this a cookie?" And I
There
ate it. Yeah.
are oatmeal raisin cookies is on my list too. Maybe I'll make those today and I'll bring you some. But there is a market in Seattle. It's still there. I'm not anymore. There's a market in Seattle where I used to go called the Ballard Market. I lived close to the neighborhood of Ballard, and the Ballard Market is part of the Thriftway chain, which is a
Yes.
local Seattle grocery store chain that I really, really love. They had in their bulk food section, they had these fancy raisins, and they were like twice the size of a Sun-Maid raisin,
Oh
huge,
boy.
like the size of the end of your thumb.
Like the size of a grape.
Like the size of a grape, in fact, and really, really good, and a little bit more money. But they made the most amazing raisin scones, and
Oh,
I have not been able to find fancy raisins like that anywhere. I ordered some fancy raisins on Amazon because they had fancy packaging, and they were like, "Look how fancy we are," and I got
yeah.
them, and they may as well be grocery store raisins. They're
Oh,
small, they're the size of your little finger,
yeah.
and overall unimpressive. So I will make raisin scones, but the day that I again stumble across fancy raisins in my life, there
Yeah.
will be raisin scones pouring out of my front door because I won't be able to make them. So, a cavalcade, actually, of raisin
Oh,
scones.
big word.
Thanks. I was
Yeah.
waiting all day to use the word cavalcade.
Yeah. You have to pay extra for that. That's a big one.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna confine that to the subscription model for Tasty Gents. That's the Tasty Gents After Dark subscription model. Will include words like cavalcade. So
Yeah, that was just a taste. That was just a taste. Yeah. Yeah. And until we had the subscription, oh, that's right. That reminds me. Greg, we do have a sponsor. So let's just cut to this ad really quick. Yeah, here we go. This episode of Tasty Gents is brought to you by Decaffeinated Coffee. Decaf. For when you've given up. Okay, we're back. And that one was for
thanks,
Andrea.
decaffeinated coffee, because there are definitely days that I've given up. Is that true for you too, Jonathan?
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
drink half decaf and half regular because I'm only partially dead inside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also that's another episode we'll bring up. Yeah.
Another episode, yes.
The dead parts. Yeah. But over 50, the dead parts.
That's one you're going to want to tune in for, listener. The over 50, the dead parts.
Yeah.
That's going to be one for the record books.
I wanted to because we're talking about comfort foods, and Andrew and I were in Palm Springs the other day.
You were.
The other night, and we're going to meet some friends at a wonderful speakeasy called the Evening Citizen. I think we mentioned it on here before. They've got great craft cocktails, but they were finishing up their dinner, and we had just come from a day trip down to the Salton Sea and East Jesus and all that kind of fun stuff. So we were just back in town, and we were like, let's get something fast. Lots of stuff was not open, and we were right at the head of Arenas. And we saw this place called I Heart. Well, I don't want to like I Heart Smack and Knees and Schmore. Like I don't want to name them, but you get the idea.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So we went to this place, and you know it had some red flags. First, it was completely empty.
Yeah.
Not a person, not a soul in there. And all the other restaurants were hopping. But we're like, okay, well then good. It'll just be fast, and we're going to get in and get out. And we went in. And there was just one young lady running the whole show and it's and just picture it, it's a board of things, and like, okay, if you want a mac and cheese bowl, here's the things you can put in it. If you want a grilled cheese, here's the things that come with it. And you choose your thing, you choose your cheese, and you choose your protein, and there you go. So we did those things. And as I'm listing the very common menu items that are listed there that I would like to have, like, because we're still doing vegetarian, so I'm like, well, I'd like to have like maybe some onion and some red pepper. She's like, oh, no, sorry, we're out of those. I said, how about mushrooms? She's like, nope, sorry, we're all out. And then she pointed to the sign, this handwritten whiteboard that is affixed to the front, that is there permanently for them to list out the things that they don't have,
Yep.
which means that they run out of items enough that they invested in the whiteboard in order to like tell you, which I think is incredibly lazy and very frustrating because and I worked fast food when I was a little kid, well, little kid, but a teenager. And then I've worked at other restaurants. And if you're out of things, the first thing we would do is call the manager or the owner, whoever's around, and say, hey, can you run? We're out of tomatoes and we're hopping. Can you get some tomatoes, mushrooms, onion, whatever? There's stores all around. So please, owners of restaurants, keep your stuff stocked if you're going to have it. Anyway, okay, so that's my little piece. And then not only, so the things that I did have that were on it, I got some like jalapenos. I got the grilled cheese, and and all the jalapenos were just in one corner of the sandwich. They were just not even spread out, like they just dumped and ding. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to care about you doing your job more than you do. So, and it seems like it's very little. So that was my experience. And then it was so salty, I was kind of unwell like the
Yeah.
rest of the night. So
So I am not prepared, I'm afraid, to tell you that your experience was unique because I had a very similar experience at that same I Heart Smack and Knees restaurant myself a
yes.
couple days after into the new year,
Mm.
where went in, was greeted with, just so you know, we're out of chicken, we're out of mushrooms, we're out of tomatoes, we're out of it. Just again, the long list of things that they were out of,
Yeah. Yeah.
including the very nice guy said, the only cheese we have is Gouda. And I was like, I'm not sure how to process that you're out of cheese. How do you
It's
run out of
how do
cheese?
you run out of cheese?
We interestingly, they didn't count the cheese sauce in the mac and cheese as cheese. So that's its own
Mm,
concerning
nice.
data point. They had plenty of cheese sauce, so they were able to make the mac and cheese with the sauce, but apparently you get additional cheese on top of it.
Yep.
The Gouda that went on top of it was sliced. It looked like American cheese. He literally laid 2 slices of Gouda cheese across the top. And it
Wow.
was too salty, and it was, we ate it. It did its job, which is we're very hungry and we'd like a quick bite to eat and then move on with our lives.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel good about the choice, and I won't be back.
Yeah. No, we'll be back either way. And usually in this show we do a lot of positive, hey, here's the places we love.
It's true.
But and I just don't talk about the places that I don't care about.
Yeah.
But this one was just so over the top
Yeah.
that nobody cared. The owner didn't care to
Yeah.
stock. The
There it is.
person working there didn't care to, well, just didn't care. And so I'm just gonna let them know that I also don't care.
Now, the thing we heard, though, I don't know if this was with you or I was somewhere else and I was telling a
Hmm.
similar story about this location, is so as you say, it's right by the front of Arenas. For those of you who don't live in Palm Springs, Arenas Road
Yeah.
is perpendicular to Indian Canyon and Palm Canyon, which is the sort of core of downtown Palm Springs. And Arenas Road is where most of the gay bars are in
Yes.
Palm Springs. And so a lot of people will go out and go to the bars and dance or have a drink or hang out with friends. And then what they want at the end of that is like late night food when you've been drinking. And apparently it's
Mm.
great if you are in that mode where you've had some drinks, you don't care what it tastes like, you just want something that's sort of warm and toasty, and I don't even know what else. So
Soaks up the
maybe
tequila.
maybe they are exactly the business they want to be, which
Hmm.
is maybe they only are interested in the late night folks coming from having a few drinks who don't care what ingredients you're out of. And then they're just
Right.
open those other times, and people like us stumble in, and we're like, oh no, this is awful. So maybe the owners and the managers are like, man, we are killing it because at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
nobody wants anything other than what we are.
That may be exactly it. Yeah, they're like the older woman at the end of the bar
Yes.
in the leopard print dress, smoking a cigarette, just knowing the bar's going to close, someone's taking her home.
Someone's
And
taking her home.
this is what this place is.
That's
Okay,
it.
that may be it.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'd hate to
Yeah,
think that they're just consistently bad because that's, who wants to be that person?
yeah,
So
yeah. Who wants to be that person?
who wants to be that person indeed?
Yeah, probably nobody.
Um,
However,
yeah.
there is a light at the end of this week of this last weekend's food experience, and I'd like to share this because you are told me about this place, and we went to Tony's Burgers,
Oh, yes.
and this is a little further away than we typically would drive for a burger, but it was 100% worth it. In fact, the burgers were so large, we each only ate half, and
Wow.
then had to bring it home.
Wow.
But they have all sorts of delicious potato French fries. We got the yellow curry French fries, which I don't know what they're putting on this. It's more than curry. There's a whole bunch of great spices in this thing. And then we got a half and half. So a small portion of the fries and then a small serving of their onion rings, also outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah. Hot,
Big fan.
like more onion than breading, but just enough breading that it's crunchy and good. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was over in that part of town for something, and I hadn't eaten all day. And I got there and had a great burger. The other place, by the way, that you should try out if in the same vein as Tony's Burgers is Beach Please.
Stop.
I will not stop. It's called Beach Please. Beech, please. And it is a Korean chicken place.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it is they've got like the crunchiest, I don't know what they do, something chemical, but it's pieces of chicken that are fried that are like pieces of glass. They're so crunchy.
Oh my
And
God.
they've got a spicy sweet one. I think it's called Sweet Fire chicken. And so you get like this little mountain of super crunchy fried chicken in this really sweet and spicy sauce, and little bits of little pieces of daikon in there, and then a small salad as well. And it's fantastic. We should all go there some night because it's so good.
I
It's
love it. I love it. Yes.
super low key, very, very casual, but really very tasty.
And I love, and that's one of the things. And so we again, like we mentioned, we're doing vegetarian this month. And as much as I love doing this, fried chicken, no, it's still out there. It's still a thing for me. But at Tony's Burgers, we did something we've never done is we had them use the Impossible Burger
Yes.
patty. And I had understood from talking to a couple of friends of ours that it's got similar or maybe a little more protein or calories than a beef patty would and some other things. Here's what I didn't expect. It was juicy.
Yeah.
It was I at no point thought I wasn't eating a burger.
Right on.
A regular,
yeah,
like used to moo kind of burger.
Yeah.
And I was totally shocked. Like not only was it not missing anything, like I'm like, well, because sometimes you'll get like a veggie patty and they make it themselves and it's good, but maybe it's like dry, so you want extra, nothing like that. I mean, I had to get extra napkins because it was like a juicy burger. So, the Impossible Burger, where we won't do it often because it is a lot of calories and there's some oils and stuff that we don't always take in, but yeah.
So I only tried Impossible Burger once. And I also found it juicy, but I found it distractingly juicy. Like they were now this is in maybe the first few months it was available at restaurants, and this was in Seattle. So this is a few years ago. And it felt like they were trying too hard. It just the taste was off, and it was I didn't like it. But I've heard enough about them since then that I want to try them again. So this might be your recommendation might be what pushes me over the edge.
Yeah.
So
and there's nothing more in my life I want to push you over the edge.
And in my life, nothing I enjoy more than being pushed over the edge by you.
Okay. Yay.
And with that, we are, believe it or not,
what?
At time.
Are we over the edge?
We're poised on the edge. We're teetering.
Teetering. Well, I haven't teetered all day, so.
Of our time allotment.
Oh my gosh. Well, Greg, thank you again. The best half hour I'm going to have all day.
It's a highlight for me. And now I'm starving. I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy comfort food stuff.
I'll see you there.
Yeah. And by the way, starving is not the right word for how I'm feeling right now. I'm just fine. Listener, if you're concerned, not really starving, just fine.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Still gonna go to the
emaciated.
grocery store.
Yeah, look, you're so thin.
Listener,
Listener,
we are
thanks for.
delighted again to have you with us for half an hour. As always, remember, we're on Facebook. We have a Tasty Gents Facebook page. We love hearing from people, either about what you thought about this episode or about an episode you wish we would talk about, because we love that too. We are on the emails at tastygents@gmail.com. We have all those ways that you can participate with us and make us feel less lonely in the world if you let us know that you're out there.
Then we're here. Yeah,
We're here.
that's right. Okay,
my friend.
Great. All right, I'm gonna go put some socks on. It's getting colder.
It's a good choice. Jonathan, I'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Okay, bye everyone.